Harvey Weinstein found guilty on 2 counts. The last Hollywood mogul may spend out his days in jail. Jussie Smollett now facing 6 charges. Boy, oh boy, Hollywood's on the ropes. We've got that news, the Democrat primary news, and then the big news, we're going to talk about the coronavirus. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Julian Assange. He is facing extradition to the United States. He's seeking asylum in France. Right now there are 17 charges facing him in the United States. He was in court again yesterday, I believe, and there were massive crowds outside of the court chanting, shouting their support for him. Friends, I know that I shouldn't say that. Most of us are against spying. Most of us would feel that it is an act of espionage or treachery to spy on one's own government. And there's no question that Julian Assange released, quote, state secrets, close quote. He did so with multiple internationally recognized media outlets who swear that they redacted any names that might cause anyone harm, especially people in the intelligence community. Some of that, I'm sure, is going to come out more clearly. But I have to go on the record as being thankful for him and for anyone else who has put themselves in danger against the most powerful forces in the world by showing to us what those powerful forces are doing to us, doing against us, spying on us. Snowden, who is now hiding in Russia, if it wasn't for him, there's every likelihood that we would not know that the United States government was spying on us day in, day out. And it is unconstitutional. It is the stuff that tyrants and tyranny are made of. So, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, I'm thankful for their work, their courage. And, you know, some things won't be known fully until eternity. I'll just leave it at that. But you can bet your bottom dollars. I'll tell you, you know, in a very small, itty-bitty scale, when Bill Clinton was elected president, his Attorney General, Janet Reno, held her first press conference and said that her number 1 priority was to go after Operation Rescue. This is 1993. I was the leader of Operation Rescue. That meant she was coming after me and my associates, which she did. I ended up serving a 5-month federal prison term because of my part in showing then candidate Bill Clinton in New York City during the Democrat convention. We showed him a 5-month-old baby boy who had been pulled out of a dumpster, a little aborted baby. It was horrifying. We called him Baby David. Baby Nathan, like the prophet Nathan who rebuked King David over his sin of killing Uriah the Hittite. And when the federal government turns its eyes on you, they have what are tantamount to unending resources. And when you take on powerful people, powerful institutions, very powerful governments, there's a price to be paid. So Snowden, Assange, other people who have been, I believe, rightly called whistleblowers, others would call them traitors, I believe that we owe them a debt of gratitude. I do. And I hope that Julian Assange gets out of prison. If he does get extradited to the United States of America, I would personally ask President Trump to pardon him. Because things are messy. If you're going to show that the U.S. government is spying on us, or if you're going to show potentially unconstitutional acts that the U.S. government is involved in, these acts are done by people. These acts are done by very powerful people. And as we have seen with Comey, the former FBI director, and Brennan, the former CIA director, it appears that they broke the law from some of the most powerful positions in the United States. With, again, almost unending resources, they were breaking the law and spying on Donald Trump before and after his election. They were lying to FISA courts to get search warrants. They were flat out lying. They were committing perjury on their requests. So will these people be held accountable? And if someone like Julian Assange or Snowden comes forward and says, hey, I've got the goods here. I know what these people are doing against American citizens, against a presidential candidate, should we thank them or should we put them in jail? I don't think, personally, I don't believe that they should be put in jail. One man's hero is another man's traitor. Was Benedict Arnold a traitor? I believe he was, because he betrayed his fellow Americans and tried to sell us out to the British. To the British, because he was a British citizen, he was a hero. So nationalism, at the core of this, nationalism is not necessarily a bad thing, but liberty and justice is sometimes even more important than nationalism. If I was a German in the 1930s, prior to Hitler coming to power, and I wanted to see Germany be rebuilt after World War I, and then Hitler came to power, I could suddenly drift from being a patriot for my country and against the current regime, against the government, and wanting to see Hitler taken out. So you look at Dietrich Bonhoeffer, that's what we're dealing with. Now Dietrich Bonhoeffer is considered a hero, but the Germans considered him a traitor, and they executed him as such. I've got to take a break. When we come back, we will talk about the coronavirus and what this means potentially for us, for the world. Is this just fear-mongering from the national press? We'll talk about it when we come back. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. For the beginner or price-conscious buyer, there's Michael Kelly guitars. For the serious player or professional, Roxy Guitar has the finest selection of guitar lines I've ever seen. You know I love Warrior guitars. Roxy Guitar has over 100 Warriors in stock. They have Heritage, G&L, Gretsch, John Sears, BC Rich, Duesenberg, Dean, legendary guitars at great prices, including pre-owned Gibsons, Fenders, and more. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. Welcome back, friend. The coronavirus has the world's attention, and it should. I was listening to a talk show today that said that the death rate of the coronavirus is no different than any flu bug that comes through any given year. And I thought, I'm going to have to research that. Now, what we know at this point, just looking at the statistics out of China and looking at the statistics that just came out of Italy, what we know is that 2 to 3% of the people who contract it die. Now, to give you a perspective, all right, in the flu pandemic of 1918, that flu took out between 3 and 5% of the entire world's population. Depending on what history book or source you look at, it's between 50 and 100 million people died, between 3 and 5% of the world's population. Now, compare that to the data that the CDC has released as of January the 20th. As of January the 20th, in this flu season, there have been 15 million cases of the flu, 140,000 hospitalizations, and 8,200 deaths in the United States related directly to the flu. Only 54 of those deaths are infant mortality. That's an extraordinarily low number. So, comparing the pandemic of 1918, where 3 to 5% of the world's population was lost, And everyone in the world didn't get the flu. This is something that you have to remember. Everyone didn't get it. So to look at, which means that we're not expecting 3 to 5% of the world to die with the coronavirus. But let me continue on this, and we'll come back to that. 82,000 deaths in the US with 15 million cases of the flu means that it's less than 1/10 of 1%, less than 1/10 of 1% who get it die, who got the flu, not coronavirus, but got different flu strains that are going around in the US this year. It's actually about 1/20 of 1% that have died. That's a tragedy. Those 8,200 deaths are a tragedy. There are grieving parents, grieving children, grieving loved ones all over the country who have lost somebody because of the flu. Most of those, the majority of those, are respiratory failures connected to pneumonia with people who are older. This happens. It happens every year. But it's still only 1/10 or 1/20 of 1%. 4 days ago, Italy said that they had about 10 cases. Then today, they came out and said they have over 200 cases and 6 deaths that they know of. So that's 3%. And that number skyrocketed. This is why people are so terrified, because this flu is a far deadlier strain. You might have heard that the doctor who pinpointed it in China, a healthy male doctor, died. Again, usually flu strains that come out every year have a very low mortality rate, and the mortality rate is in older people who are struggling with respiratory issues. That's not the case with this flu. In Buffalo, New York, I believe it was, a young man, a teenage boy, was healthy as could be, got the coronavirus and was dead 5 days later. So people who are saying we have nothing to worry about, I'm not buying. Now there's a couple of unknown factors. Number one, there's several unknown factors. Number one, they're still not sure how it's spread. They're not sure. That's a huge wild card. Number two, they don't know how many people are going to get it. No way to project that. Now here's an even bigger wild card. Number three, there's a reason they call it the flu season. Usually heat kills flu germs. That's why people get flus in the winter. So the summer months have a self-correcting way with the whole human race. With the flu pandemic in 1918, the summer months did not do their normal job. And because of that, the death toll continued to climb. It was unthinkable. An unthinkable number of people died on the world stage. Now, again, the whole world's population, between 3 and 5% of the whole world's population died. Not everyone who got the flu died. And everyone didn't get the flu. So how bad will the toll be from the coronavirus? We don't know. But the impact of this virus on the world right now is extraordinary. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we'll look at that. And man, let's pray, let's hope that the summer months do their job, please God, and that this virus doesn't have the strength to just plow right on through the summer months and into next winter. I'll be right back.
I also want to speak tonight directly to Muslims throughout the world. We respect your faith. Its teachings are good and peaceful. And those who commit evil in the name of Allah blaspheme the name of Allah.
We have reaffirmed again and again that the United States is not and never will be at war with Islam. Islam teaches peace.
Islam is a religion of peace. They are not Muslims, they are monsters.
We've been told that Muslim terrorists have hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam. But Islamic art and literature tell a very different story. To know the truth, we only have to study the narrative of the founder of Islam, Muhammad, in his own words. So to give perspective on the potential impact of the coronavirus in America, this year, as of January 20th, the CDC says 15 million people had the flu, 8,200 died. That's far less than 0.1%. If the death toll was 2%, that would be 300,000 deaths. If 15 million people got the coronavirus in America, it would not be 8,200 deaths, it would be 300,000 deaths, and it would be taking the lives of people of every age spectrum. So that's why this is so scary. And that's just with 15 million people. God forbid that the number was twice that. And that's just a 2% death rate. So President Trump yesterday announced that he was going to have an emergency spending bill brought before Congress where he asks for $1 billion for money to fight the coronavirus. That will be to try and find, what do you call those shots you get every year? Your flu shot, yeah, there's a name for it. To get shots, to do research how it's spread, to anything that we can do to contain it. But he's not going to sit there and be caught flat-footed when the disease of this power and this magnitude is hitting us. Now, there are some people that are talking about China, and they are presuming that the Chinese are lying to us, that the number of people with the flu is actually much higher. I tend to think that's probably correct. The Chinese, I mean, they're just known, they're a communist government, they're not known for telling the truth. Put it to you like that. But there's two things I want to say about that. The issue is not as much how many people have it. That's a critical question. But perhaps a more critical question for the world is what percentage of people are dying from it. Now, if they have 10 times as many cases as they're telling us, well, the problem with that is obvious. Those people who were infected and were contagious before they were symptomatic, God alone knows how many people are walking around carrying that virus right now in China or in countries all over the world. We have no clue what's going on right now by virtue of the fact that we don't know how it's spread. We don't know who's carrying it. I mean, the Italians jumped in a 4-day period from 6 cases to 200 cases. So let's talk about the impact on the world. Yesterday, the stock market dropped 1,000 points. I don't know what the number's going to be today for the time, because of the time of the filming of this show, but people are panicked. And the reason that they're panicked on an economic level, this is called a black swan event, where something comes out of nowhere seemingly. No one could have predicted it. No one could have had a safeguard. Well, there's a lot of companies that depend upon China to get parts or to get textiles or any number of things that they can't get because transportation and shipping has been stopped from certain areas of China. And there's rumors going around that are not true that Apple is not going to be able to have any new phones available. That is simply not true. But Apple's going to take a hit. They will take a hit. There was a story yesterday that talked about Walmart may get into a situation where they have literally empty shelves that appear empty. If you walk up and down an aisle in Walmart, one day when you're in Walmart shopping, just for a kick, go to any aisle and turn over anything you want, anything, and look at it, see where it's made. You're going to find 80, 90% in some aisles. Some aisles it's going to be even higher. Of those items are made in China. So as people act naturally and as governments intervene legally to try and keep this coronavirus in China and not spread around the world, there's going to be an economic impact that is severely felt in some quarters, and some of it might be felt here in the United States. There's already companies saying, you know what? We should have a backup plan. You know, the president was in India yesterday, over 100,000 people cheering him on, talking about cutting new deals with the Indian government as far as trade. Remember, India is the second most populous country in the world, and it is the third largest economy in the world. So they are an economic powerhouse. So there's companies that are saying, we should look at other places and not put all of our eggs in the Chinese basket. It's a communist government. Most flus originate in China, and maybe we just need to make other arrangements. But those arrangements take time. Those arrangements take money. Right now, there's over 20 cities in Italy that are locked down. That are, they didn't put armed soldiers around them, but they're telling people don't come in, don't go out. We want to quarantine these cities. Governments are spooked. And they're spooked because the death rate of this is so high. 0.1% with a normal flu going through die, all right, or less. Those are average numbers, according to the CDC. But this is 2%, 3%, depending on what number the Chinese are sharing with us, or depending on what other little numbers that we get from around the world. Governments are spooked, and they should be, and they have a duty to protect their own people, and that's what's going on. So we will keep you posted on this. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the infighting inside of the Democrat Party. Mike Bloomberg, Bernie Sanders, what will Obama do? This is good stuff. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Best-selling author Dr. Bill Warner said, "What Would Mohammed Do is the best movie series, TV production on the life of Muhammad and Islamic terrorism that has ever been produced." Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700, or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. For the beginner or price-conscious buyer, there's Michael Kelly guitars. For the serious player or professional, Roxy Guitar has the finest selection of guitar lines I've ever seen. You know I love Warrior guitars. Roxy Guitar has over 100 Warriors in stock. They have Heritage, G&L, Gretsch, John Sears, BC Rich, Duesenberg, Dean, legendary guitars at great prices, including pre-owned Gibsons, Fenders, and more. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. Do you remember the Never Trumpers? Do you remember back in 2015, 2016, people flipping out against Donald Trump, Republicans flipping out against Donald Trump? Take out the names, take out the party, and put in new names, put in the Democrat Party. And we're starting to see that from the Democrats. They are terrified of a Bernie Sanders victory in the primary. And they are meeting behind closed doors right now to try and figure out how do we stop Bernie Sanders from getting the nomination outright on the first ballot. Now, you know what's funny is I think that Donald Trump would beat Bernie Sanders. But it is truly, it's more than troubling, it's borderline terrifying that this many millions of Americans are throwing their support behind a man who's a self-avowed socialist, a man who praises Fidel Castro's education, a man who went to Moscow for his honeymoon. I mean, that's disturbing. I was listening, I don't know if I read a poll or listened to a poll about how many young people don't know who Joseph Stalin was or Mao Zedong. So you can't even call up the ghosts of wicked past because these people who are behind Bernie Sanders don't know who Joseph Stalin was. They wouldn't know about the purge of millions of people in Russia. All right, listen, I'm out of time for today. I promise you in our next show on Thursday night, we're going to take a close look at the Democrats and the crisis that they are in. You're not going to want to miss it. God bless you. Hey, go to our website, randallterry.com. Check out what we're doing.